Welcome to our Heading Accessibility Workshop. Today we'll be talking about why headings are useful, how users with disabilities use headings, the correct and incorrect usage of headings, and some tools you can use to check headings in your existing content. First off, why are headings useful? Here are two examples of the same content which each describe PDF accessibility. On the left, we have a wall of text situation. The information is dense and users might have to read the entire thing to find the information they're looking for. Some users might just give up. On the right, the same content is broken up with meaningful headings that break up the information into digestible topics. This makes it easier for users to skim and find what they need. In a nutshell, headings provide structure. If you're a sighted user, you probably appreciate being able to look at a page and understand how the content is organized. Headings and subheadings help you understand what information is on a page and help you find what you want quickly. Guess what? Headings also define the structure of page content for users with disabilities. Here are a few examples of users who rely on accessible headings. Users who are blind, users with low vision, and users with cognitive disabilities. Whether you're working on a web page or a document, when you apply a heading style to text, a heading tag that you can't see is applied on the back end of the content. If you're using headings, use them in order, starting with H1 or heading 1. In most cases, you'll use one heading 1 for the page or document title. Then use heading 2s for subheadings and heading 3s for sub-subheadings. Let's talk about how screen reader software works with headings. As we mentioned before, users who are blind like to skim content just like sighted users. To do this, they use the screen reader to navigate through all the headings on a page. The screen reader announces both the heading text and the heading level. This allows the user to understand the hierarchy of the information on the page. In order for this to work, you must use headings correctly. Users of other assistive technologies also rely on accessible headings. Users with cognitive disabilities who require specific font styles, color combinations, or page simplification may use assistive technologies that reconfigure page content. Users with low vision may use screen magnification software in conjunction with the screen reader. In order for these technologies to work, headings must be accessible. Most importantly, apply heading styles. Don't just change the font formatting to create the appearance of headings. In most cases, use a single heading 1 for your main heading that describes the subject. In many content management systems, such as UC Berkeley on the Drupal platform, this is done for you automatically. Within the main content of your page, use headings in order. Use H2s for subheadings and H3s for sub-subheadings. Headings should be used both in your main content and for navigation menus. Just to add a quick note of clarification, when we talk about page titles or document titles today, we're talking about your main heading that appears at the beginning of your content. We're not talking about the page title that appears on your browser tab or in the metadata of a document. You may use the same text for both, but just be aware that these are different elements. Now let's talk about incorrect heading usage. In most cases, you should avoid skipping heading levels. There are rare occasions where it may make sense for your content structure to skip a level. But you definitely should never skip a heading level because you prefer the look of a different level better. This can cause confusion. Also, don't use headings to highlight a section of text to make it stand out. Headings should only be used to describe the content that comes after it. Don't use all caps. This comes across as yelling and reduces readability, especially for people with dyslexia. Don't underline headings or any text that isn't a link. Underlining should only be used for active links. Here's an example of correct heading usage on a theoretical web page. Our main heading in H1 is Popular Plants. This is divided into two subheadings, Outdoor Plants and Indoor Plants, which are tagged as H2s. The Outdoor Plants section is further divided into two subheadings, Evergreens and Perennials. These are tagged as H3s. On this slide are two screenshots which I will describe to model best practices. On the left is the Wave Tool Details tab, which displays the structural elements it found on the page shown on the right. It identified 1 H1, 13 H2s, and 1 H3. On the right is our sample web page with the Wave tool turned on. On the web page, there is an H1 label on our main heading, which is Color. There are also H2 labels on two subheadings. What are the requirements for color contrast, and who does this affect? You might be wondering, are headings required? In most cases, you should at least have a heading 1 applied to the main heading of your page content. Brief content may not require additional headings. However, if your content has sections and text that appears visually as a heading, then these must have a heading style applied. There are two ways to check the headings on existing content. Automated checkers like SiteImprove can review your entire site. Manual testing tools allow you to check the headings applied to a single web page or document. So what can automated checkers do for you? They can check the order of headings on your web pages and let you know if levels were skipped. They will also find artifacts of headings accidentally applied to empty space. Automated checkers are not able to alert you to plain text that isn't a heading but should be. That requires a human. They also won't alert you to text that has a heading style applied to make it stand out. Manual checkers will show you all of the headings on a page and what heading level is assigned. Your job is to make sure they make sense and are in the correct order. Here are a few great free tools that you can use to manually check your headings. Wave will provide you with an automated check of your whole page, but because it labels all the headings on your page, it's also a great way to manually review the headings and make sure they're correctly used. HeadingsMap is a browser extension that displays all of your page headings in the sidebar in an outline format. And for Google Docs, you can use the free Grackle add-on, which also provides you with both an automated and manual check. In closing, here are a few resources you may find useful. Thank you for joining us. We hope this was helpful.